Arma Reforger is quickly becoming one of the biggest things in FPS gaming, but a third of its entire player base is pretty much playing fully modded servers that change the rules of what Reforger can be. And the most popular mod on the market right now is called Worst Case Scenario, or WCS. It's basically a massive expansion to weapons, gears, vehicles, and even brand new maps and modes that modders can use to expand the game way beyond its original scope. Today, we're gonna dive in and see what Reforger's biggest mod actually plays like. So, Reforger's base vanilla servers are all set in a Cold War era conflict, currently on 2 maps. Those maps are mostly rural countryside, and you fight on them with a mix of Soviet and US guns and vehicles from that era. It's a great experience, but it is limited by its arsenal and map variety. The mods dump truckloads of new content into the game for better or worse. WCS is at the core of many modded servers. It's a community-developed expansion of Reforger that includes dozens of individual mods and offers tons of modern military weapons and vehicles, while also serving as a framework for other modders to build on top of. There's also WCS modes for gameplay features and balancing, like hiding enemy voice comm names from the heads-up display, spawn protection, custom in-game interfaces, and just so much more. Servers can utilize these mods in conjunction with other mods to create whatever experience that they want. And since modded servers are hosted by the community, you end up getting a ton of diversity in what the mods are running on any given server. And while I think it's safe to say that WCS is Reforger's biggest mod right now, that WCS experience is anything but consistent between servers. On one server I joined, it was running a remake of the map from DayZ with a pretty tame blend of WCS and additional mods. Another server had the map set in the winter with every weapon sounding like some sort of bass-boosted YouTube meme video when it was fired. But when you find the right server, the experience can be amazing. In one game I played, my team was having a hell of a time taking a central objective from the enemy. It was a pretty well fortified military base they were using to launch helicopters from, and it was heavily guarded by tanks. Naturally, it was also surrounded by an open field with just tree lines for cover, so it was pretty hard to attack. I managed to sneak into the base alongside a road shielded by trees, and then I just went to town. I had a suppressed AK rifle, and I managed to take out a helicopter pilot, multiple soldiers, and cause enough of a distraction that the rest of my team seemed to manage to push in and capture the point. These mods give players so many more tools to work with, like a hit marker on the map indicating your position, a compass on the heads-up display, highly accurate suppressed weapons, night vision goggles, and just so much more. Complex or stealthy operations are way more feasible, and it leads to crazy situations like an enemy little bird gunning down your transport chopper right in front of your team's anti-air tank. There's way more stuff like urban door-to-door firefights. There's night operations where your whole team can use night vision to clear and assault camping enemies. You can insert into objective areas as your team rains down heavy fire from combat helicopters. Everything you can do in vanilla Reforger is just opened up and expanded upon with these mods, and it's no question why a third of the community is playing them. Now, modded servers typically offer dozens of new weapons to play with. They're generally faction specific and fit the modern military theme for most servers, so you'll see stuff like modern AKs and M4s kitted out with laser sights, thermal optics, suppressors, and all that kind of fun tech stuff. The sheer volume of new guns is actually overwhelming, to be honest. It's to the point that there's literally a mod called Bacon Loadout Editor that tries to reel in the pages and pages of items into a more coherent scrolling list and menu system. And still, picking and customizing a gun can feel absolutely overwhelming. Arma's devs or modders need to implement a UI tool that shows stats and features of each item so you can tell if a weapon is semi-auto or full auto, what its intended range is, the ammo it takes, all that kind of information. And each gun comes pre-configured in multiple different loadouts, so you can mostly just grab one that looks cool and play with it instead of having to build your own kit. But the sheer wealth of options without having the tools to narrow things down or pick based on stats makes it a bit frustrating trying to put together a really customized weapon. Now, a highlight for me is the additional vehicles. Getting into a modern armored troop carrier and seeing all the friendlies in the seats surrounded by cool MFDs and stuff is just awesome. It completely changes the vibe of the game. Though one thing I think modders need to work on is ensuring that passengers can't do weird stuff like closing the exterior blast shield on a driver's window. That happened in this situation, which led to the driver getting us stuck in a ditch. Lots of fun little issues and quirks coming with all the new vehicles. Now, naturally, one of the biggest appeals for these mods is simply the modern military element. Part of the fun of milsims is being able to kind of role play in modern military factions for different military groups that might operate around the world. And so having base Reforger stuck in the Cold War era makes it feel a little less relatable, I think, to most gamers. And getting to play all the modern military stuff with mods just takes this game to the next level. There's also small things that dramatically improve the quality of life in a match, like having actual night vision goggles. In vanilla Reforger, once nighttime starts, most of the fighting dies down since no one can really see anything. But in servers with mods, you can equip NVGs and keep the action going all through the night. Now, personally, I like that there's a little bit of downtime in matches on vanilla. It kind of creates a fun pacing change to the game, but it's also hard to argue with being able to see people at night and continue the firefight. So it is cool just to have that as an option always. Another massive change that adds a ton to the experience is that modded servers can offer a substantially increased player count. I mean, massively. Those modded servers can run up to 128 players right now, where vanilla is limited to 48. And while vanilla does do a pretty good job of making it feel like there's a lot more players thanks to the mixed-in AI that you're going to run into, it's still hard to argue with just having more players to fill out the map. It just makes everything so much more action-packed. It's actually one of the frequent complaints I see from other players, and one that I kind of share too, is that there's just a lot of downtime in base Reforger matches, and having all those extra players on a server just makes the pacing so much better in my opinion. That said, it does also add to tons of wacky and unbalanced situations. It's not perfect. In one match I played, the enemy team had multiple helicopters in the air doing full-on strafing runs of an objective and just obliterating everything. And while there are tools that you can use to deploy like anti-air installations, it's a multi-step process that requires quite a bit of teamwork to get up and running, where just a handful of players on your team that are high enough rank can spawn attack helicopters and start dominating an area. So there's a bit of balance between attack and defense in terms of skill and teamwork required. Also, the sheer volume of new weapons means that there's kinds of weird balance situations, like a standard assault rifle with decent attachments might cost 50 or 60 supply points, but a bolt action sniper rifle with an insanely powerful thermal scope is only 1 point. I picked one up thinking it would be really crappy or something, only to realize that I could see enemies with thermal scopes that were basically invisible otherwise. It just felt like I was getting a super OP weapon for basically no points. Now, a fairly substantial drawback to mods is that they're just not well optimized. Every server I joined had tons of stuttering and performance problems that seemed like they were directly caused by all the additional content and players. And I'm not going to say that vanilla Reforger servers offer the ideal server performance 100% of the time, but every modded server I played had certain boundaries that would cause a massive, repeatable lag spike. In this server in particular, as soon as I crossed a certain boundary around a nearby objective area, the game would freeze and lag for a few seconds, leading to myself and other players crashing their vehicles because we lost control of them while lagging out. It even got me killed once when my Jeep crashed into a tree. Servers also seem to randomly reset during in-progress matches, which is incredibly frustrating considering that a single match can last for 2 to 3 hours easily. At least 2 servers I played on got reset mid-match, basically wiping away like 2 hours worth of gameplay. Now, all that said, I totally see why mods for Reforger are so popular. Mods expand the scope and depth of the game in ways that the original developers never intended or just didn't have time to offer themselves. There's no doubt in my mind that Reforger wouldn't be as popular as it is right now without this incredible mod support, especially since they're also available on Xbox. But it does still feel like we're in the early Wild West days of Reforger mods, with new ideas and content constantly rolling rolling in, being tested, being imbalanced, buggy, having performance issues, all that fun stuff. But in terms of the fun factor, modded Reforger servers are an absolute blast. Like just the simple fact that they offer night vision goggles that you can use to keep the action rolling at night is a huge quality of life improvement. But I still think there's a long road ahead before Reforger has a mod that feels as focused, cohesive, and balanced as the vanilla experience, which in itself is pretty fantastic. Some servers are getting close, and if you find a good server that's run by the right community, it can be an absolute blast from start to finish. But there's a lot of servers to choose from with a pretty wide range of different mod configurations. My advice would be to search for WCS servers on the community tab and queue up for ones that are near the top of the list. It might take you like 15 minutes to get into a slot, but these servers are generally the best and most balanced of the modded experience, and it's why there's so many people queued up to play. I can only see Reforger's future getting brighter and brighter thanks to all of the mods. It might be a bit chaotic at first glance, but once you find a good server, it can take your gameplay to another level. I'd be curious to hear about your favorite Arma mods in the comments. Let me know if there's any cool ones I should check out next. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and up next, check out my Arma Reforger guide that honestly I think anyone playing this game should watch. You'll probably learn at least a few new things. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.